While the Sharks remain winless, there's still plenty to learn from last week.
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome to Locked On Sharks, the premier hockey podcast covering your favorite team in the Bay Area. My name is JD Young, caretaker at the Reef, also the co-host of Locked On NHL. I want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen, proudly part of the Locked On Network. We cover your team every day. And if you want to be an everydayer, all you have to do, just follow along wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. And today we're going to be digging into what we learned last week, including Shakir Mukhamadullin being injured, Luca Cagnoni being recalled, why the Sharks need to rely on their young players more and more, and if they should embrace the chaos approach to try to win some games. So before we get to all that, do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. So, back from soccer tournament. Thank you for hanging in there with the hotel Wi-Fi podcast episode there. So, we're back home. No tournaments for a while, thankfully, but let's dig into it because the big news today, of course, Shakir Mukhamadullin was put on IR, and the San Jose Sharks recalled Luca Cagnoni. So let's start with the Mukhamadullin aspect of it. And of course, the Sharks are pretty decimated now at the blue line when it comes to some of these injuries. Timothy Liljegren on IR. Of course, Shakir Mukhamadullin IR. John Klingberg's still out. He will travel on this trip, and I think Liljegren will also travel. Mukhamadullin, I believe, is not traveling. So we might get some of these guys back here as this, this road trip wears on. But Mukhamadullin played the first game, healthy scratch, and then he got injured in practice. And I'm already getting all the questions of, well, are we worried about, is he is Mukhamadullin an injury prone, et cetera, et cetera. And it's hard to tell because we don't know what the injury is, right? It could have been something where he got a puck to the face. It could have been a concussion. He could have, a lower, hurt his hamstring, groin. The thing is, we don't know. So it's hard to say without knowing what the actual injury is, if he is injury prone. And I know he has not finished the last two seasons, right, because of injuries. I'm still willing to give him a pass with how last year ended with Frank Vatrano just kind of slamming him into the ice, right? Not a normal hockey play there. And I'm willing to give him, a little bit of a leeway there, right? I mean, we saw Eklund get crushed against the boards and get hurt, his season in the AHL and end his season and have kind of a similar injury there. But it is worrisome that Mukhamadullin just cannot stay healthy for a stretch of time, right? But I am weary of putting the injury prone because, again, we just don't know what the injury is, right? If he aggravated something, if it was, like I said, he could have had a concussion, because if you have a concussion, it's a little bit, I don't like to put that in the same category as being injury prone, because unless you start to gather multiple concussions, right? But it's just hard to, with how little information we have on Mukhamadullin. I'm sure we'll find out once he gets back whatever the injury was, but it's disappointing because it feels like Mukhamadullin could be a big part of this season and what the Sharks, was especially how we looked at this defensive core and what Mukhamadullin would add to it. And it feels like the Sharks defense is definitely missing Shakir Mukhamadullin and his assets and what he does really well. So hoping he gets better, hoping he can return to action here soon. But again, it's just unfortunate that we haven't been able to kind of get Mukhamadullin. So again, I get people want to rubber stamp him, injury prone, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not quite there yet, but I'm looking for the stamp. We'll just say we're digging through the junk drawer at this point. So, but when someone's misfortunes, always opens up for a door for somebody else. and Luca Cagnoni is that guy right now. Very interesting that Cagnoni is the first recall, right? Especially with Jack Thompson, right? Because you look at the candidates, right? It's Cagnoni, it's Thompson, it's Lucas Carlson, and Cole Clayton. Those are kind of your main staple of guys that you expect to be kind of called up. And very interesting that Cagnoni gets the first call. And I think it also has to do with who is also out, right? And again, John Klingberg is out. And Cagnoni, I think, plays the John Klingberg role in this team's offense, and what kind of their roles I think are similar, right? Klingberg, offensive guy, runs the power play. Like, his job is to help get the puck, transition the puck. I know Klingberg's had a horrible start so far, and then this injury doesn't help. But Cagnoni is going to be that guy for the Sharks, and I'm super excited about Luca. I mean, anybody who's listened to this podcast for any amount of time knows how much I love Luca Cagnoni, and I think he's a guy who is going to be an asset for the San Jose Sharks team for a long time. And with the Sharks being in the position that they're at, adding Luca Cagnoni right now, I think it could give them a potential shot in the arm, especially on the power play. And it's not like the power play is bad. Like, the power play has been one of the bright spots for the Sharks this year, right? As I'm recording this right now, the power play is like 7th in the NHL right now at 27.8%. Like, the power play has been outstanding for the Sharks this year. But we know what Cagnoni can do on the power play. I mean, he led the Barracuda to have the best power play in the entire AHL last year, right? 15 goals on the power play in the AHL last year. And for San Jose, they're going to be in an interesting spot here, because we know how they like to kind of limit some of these young defensemen. But when you have two of them now, in Cagnoni and Dickinson, you're gonna have to just ride with some of these guys here and kind of let them do their thing here. And you can't just play, Orlov and Ferraro, 28 minutes a night and expect to get away with it. Like, the Sharks are going to have to embrace this young blue line. And we'll talk a little bit more about that here in a second. But I do think Cagnoni's got a really good opportunity here. If he can come in and play well, in both zones, right? And that's, it's not the offensive zone that we're worried about Luca Cagnoni. It's the defensive zone. And again, I still believe Luca Cagnoni can play defense, and he can play it very well despite his 5'9" stature. Right, he's going to have to earn that trust from Morsovsky and from the coaching staff, so that way he can continue to stick in the lineup. But Cagnoni does have a big time opportunity here, with both Mukhamadullin out and with Klingberg out, and especially with Klingberg out, because again, I feel like Cagnoni is waiting for Klingberg to kind of take that role. If Cagnoni comes in and the power play continues to click the same as it has been, and he can help transition the puck out of the zone, because the Sharks have still been struggling with that, and he can do enough in the defensive zone, I think that he has an opportunity to make the Sharks have to make a very difficult choice here, right? And especially we've seen the way the veterans have started this season, right? It's been a lot of Nick Leddy hasn't been playing well. Orlov's had his up and downs. Klingberg, hasn't played super well and then has also been injured. The big time opportunity for Cagnoni, and we'll see. I gut feeling says he ends up back in the AHL here, but at some point he's going to push the issue and make it so they can't keep him down. And it would be really great if now is that opportunity where Cagnoni just takes the reins and is like, guys, I'm the best offensive defenseman in the organization right now, and you got to play me, and you got to just lean into these younger guys and let these young guys grow together. So we're going to talk about that more here, especially with Misa and Dickinson and a little bit of Cagnoni, as things that we've learned from this week. We'll continue to do that. So we'll talk about that, and then we'll talk about embracing chaos, because I think that might be the Sharks' best opportunity. So we'll get to that here in just 1 second. Let's be honest, most of us can't even name all of our financial accounts, let alone what we're worth between 401ks, savings, investments. It's easy to lose track and you can be leaving money on the table. That's why I started using Monarch, an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Great thing about Monarch is it gives you access to all your accounts. You can track your spending, get a better handle on your investments without having to touch a spreadsheet. Spreadsheets are for nerds. And Monarch's visual dashboard and smart tools make it so much easier to understand where your money is going and how it can make it work for me. It's like your own personal Puckpedia, people. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarch.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. All right, before we continue, of course, want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. If you haven't yet, perfect time to subscribe, as we'll have game day previews, a nice little YouTube exclusive 10-minute episodes where we get to know who the Sharks will be playing that night, kind of what to watch for, look at all the lines, all that fun stuff that'll go up usually early afternoon before on game days. Plus, we have reactions to every game right after the game, and covering the best prospect pool in the NHL. We'll have more prospect deep dives, all that fun stuff. So make sure you guys are following along wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. I think the other big thing we learned this week is that the Sharks need to embrace, rely on, utilize, whatever you want to call it. They need to, with their young players, right? We know Celebrini, awesome. We know what Celebrini is, right? Sam Dickinson, we talked about after Saturday night's game. Dickinson needs to play more. Like the way he has played, right, and the bounce back and performances that we've seen from Dickinson after that Canes game, right? Horrible game. Everybody played bad on the Sharks that game, right? And again, as I've said a lot of times, Hurricanes, really good hockey team, right? The way they pressure you, the way that they make you play, it is tough life for a 19-year-old kid playing, his third or fourth game in the NHL. Tough game. But the way he played against Utah, and then the way he played against Pittsburgh, and again, Utah, team that I think a lot of people are kind of projecting to make a push to the playoffs, and Pittsburgh, who's had a better start than expected to start their season, but still like a team that's in the bottom, but they do have some great players, right? Crosby, Malkin, etc. Dickinson needs to play more, right? Not this like 15 minutes a night. Like, can we get this up to 18? Right. Taking away some of those minutes from Ferraro, from Orlov, right? Where you're not putting those guys out 24, 25 minutes a night. And yes, I know they're veterans, etc. And Orlov's the highest paid defenseman on the team. I get it. But Dickinson, I mean, I know Schaefer's playing like 1,000 minutes a night. I don't think that's the idea for Dickinson. But the way he has played the last two games, I'd like to see these kind of 17, 18-minute range for Dickinson now. Continue to see him on power play too. And, maybe start to sneak in there at the tail end of PKs. Just starting to kind of dip his toes into it. But really proud of the way he responded after that bad performance. And that's what that resiliency, right? And, a lot of it is just kind of attitude and kind of working through things. That's why one of the reasons why I think Dickinson will stick around is because I think his ability to bounce back. And watching him in London, again, OHL and NHL, two separate things, but you would see him, have a bad game here and there, and especially kind of early last season, have some bad performances, but then his ability to bounce back and string together multiple good games, that's what you see from Dickinson. That I think we saw that over these last two games. Same thing, Michael Misa. You saw he had did much better game compared to game one. Game one, right? A lot of nerves, I think, from just playing in the NHL. Game 2, you loved his performance. And I think, again, Warsofsky, you're looking for that first win. I think you need to rely on these young guys and having Misa out there playing on the third. And again, like the third line, I think is a good spot for Misa right now, especially with some of the players that you can put with him, right? Whether it's Graf or Skinner or Smith or whomever. I think you can live with Michael Misa on your third line as he kind of gets his feet under him, and he's going to start to get caught up to the NHL speed. And you saw some splash plays, right? Especially that second period where he had some really great plays, almost scored. You saw him kind of start to push the play for a guy, again, playing his second NHL game as an 18-year-old. You're going to need to rely on him. And then whatever is between Warsofsky and Smith right now, like Warsofsky, I know, I believe Warsofsky is a head coach. I know a lot of people want him fired. I'm not there yet with it, but Will Smith is one of your best players, and you need to put him in a position to succeed. And I get, right, you got to hold everybody accountable, especially young players, et cetera, et cetera. But you're not going anywhere as a team if Will Smith isn't one of the guys pulling the rope. He is too important to this franchise to be doing whatever is going on right now. And, like his time on ice is really low right now. Like just whatever's going on, like you guys need to get past it. And Will Smith needs to be playing big time minutes again, because again, this team is not going anywhere without Will Smith as one of the guys pulling the ropes, right? You drafted him 4th overall. You saw what he did last year in the second half of the season, especially playing with Macklin Celebrini. Having Will Smith play 13:44 a night, like, no, that's what he played. That was his time on ice against the Penguins, right? Here are the players. Here are the forwards who had less time than Will Smith. Tyler Andrea, your 4th line center. Barclay Goodrow. Michael Misa, who was, playing his second NHL game. Will Smith needs to be 16, 17 minutes a night. And again, I know like this game, like you were able to kind of roll all your lines, right? Wenberg played the most out of your forwards here. But it's like Wenberg, Celebrini, Eklund. Like I get those guys also play, in all situations, and especially Eklund and Wenberg. But having Will Smith play this few minutes, it's like this has to change. Whatever you got, work it out, whatever it needs. This organization is not going anywhere without Will Smith doing what Will Smith can do. So hopefully we can see Will Smith back up playing with Celebrini. Again, I know the beginning of the season was a little tough there, but I think there's some big opportunities. I know a lot of people are worried about this East Coast road trip. Like, I think this is a great opportunity for the Sharks. But the Sharks usually win games on this East Coast road trip. And you have an Isles team who's off to a bad start. You have a Rangers team who can't score. Yes, the Devils, great team. I expect a loss there, but this is a great opportunity for San Jose to start to kind of build some momentum, especially after the game we saw on Saturday. And I think for them to build some momentum, I think they need to embrace some chaos. So we're going to talk about that here in just 1 second. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. You'll get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Great thing about FanDuel is it gives you so many ways to play. You can do parlays. So if you think a series of things are going to happen, like maybe Tua throws 3 picks and the Dolphins lose by a bajillion points. You can do player props, RIP, Darren Waller touchdowns. It was fun while it lasted. And even follow the live lines during the games. If you had the Broncos to come back and win, you're probably taking Monday off, I assume. So it makes watching football even more exciting, and you got a little bit of something right on the action. So what are you waiting for? Visit fanduel.com to download the FanDuel app today and to get started. All right, before we finish up, do of course want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On NHL Game Night. Every game, every night until a Stanley Cup champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find NHL Game Night on Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. The other thing we learned this week is I think the Sharks should just run and gun. Like we saw against the Penguins, and you're not going to do this against like the top teams in the NHL. You're not going to get away with this. But again, like I just mentioned, you're playing the Isles, who not off to a great start this season. I'm pulling up they have won. Where are they at? The Isles have won 2 games, and they've scored 16 goals and they've given up 19. Okay. And then you're playing the New York Rangers, who are 3-1, but have struggled at home. I think you should just run and gun against these teams that are kind of in your area, because that, I think, is the Sharks' best opportunity to just cause some chaos and see if you can score that way, right? And again, like the game against the Penguins, you outplayed the Penguins because of you just pushed, right? And we heard on the broadcast where they were just like, Warsofsky was none of this D-to-D stuff, just go, right? Because you have young players, like young, creative, skilled players like Celebrini and like Smith and like Misa and Eklund. And then you have some of these older but crafty veterans like Skinner and Toffoli. And I think the Sharks should just push and try to just cause as much chaos. And you're going to have to live with some of the results, right? You're going to have to realize you're going to hang your goalie out to dry occasionally. And you just got to hope Askarov and Nedeljkovic can hang in there. But I think for the Sharks right now, like, yes, defensive structure, all that stuff is just not there. So why not just lean into who you are? And you are a team that is just trying to score as many goals as you can right now and try to win some games 6-5, because I think that's your best approach, especially with how good your power play is, right? The power play is off to a great start. You're going to have Luca Cagnoni in the lineup. Cagnoni, we know, can push the pace. Sam Dickinson, I fully believe Sam Dickinson can push the pace. Ferraro, Orlov, Letty, hang in there, guys. But I think just leaning into your young player, like again, kind of going back to what we've talked about this whole episode, leaning into your young players, leaning into your identity. Is this going to be a long-term winning hockey thing? Probably not. But I think for now, I think just to get this team kind of get a couple wins under their belts and kind of get some confidence, I think you just lean into your identity right now as just a chaos team of just, let's go. Let's try to score a bunch of goals. And if we got to win 6-5 right now, then let's try to win 6-5. Because trying to play a defensively structured sound, like this team just does not have that, right? And especially with all these new pieces with Letty and, like I said, with all these veterans who are just either hurt or just not playing up to standard right now, just go with what you have. Because, I mean, this team can score. And again, I know they got shut out against Yari and the Penguins, and you're going to have those. Like, you're going to have those games where you outplay a team, but you just don't. But right now, the Sharks offense, small sample size, I know, it's 27th in the NHL. They've scored 2.6 goals per game. Okay. And they've given up 5 goals a game, which is the worst in the NHL. But I think if you just kind of, especially early in the season when teams are trying to figure who they are, and especially against some of this competition right now, that between very winnable games between the Rangers and the Isles, because if you try to get into like a structured competition with the Isles, like even though I know they have new GM, everything like that, new identity right now, they have too many veteran guys who are just kind of like are just gonna, like they're going to be able to win that. So try to cause as much chaos and stress teams, right? Stress teams to have to try to kind of either maintain structure, just like we saw the Canes, right? The Canes stress you because they pressure you on all the time, and they think that they go on the attack, they stress you, they make you try to kind of work on quickly and work on your feet, and you see the defensive breakdowns that usually leads to chaos. I think the Sharks should take the same type of approach of just constantly attack, constantly push, and see if you can get some results that way. And I think like a team like the Isles, I think you could potentially do that and try to get into a little bit of a run and gun game with them. Um, I do, like I said, the best game that the Sharks have played, I do think was the Penguins game, where they got into that and they just were like, we're just going to trade opportunities and see if we can get some puck luck tonight. And the Sharks just didn't get puck luck. So we'll see. I think that I like after the Canes game, I think the Utah game, you got a good period out of there and things fell apart in the third period. I think the Sharks definitely outplayed the Penguins and they got unlucky with going up against Tristan Jarry, who had a great night that night. But I think if you lean into your identity of who you are, of just a young team that's just going to try to cause some chaos, I think you can get a win against one of these two teams here, between the Rangers and the Isles. And the Sharks, typically when they go on this road trip early in the season, they get a win against one of these teams. It's happened the last couple of seasons, like every year the last couple of seasons, they've gotten a win against one of these teams. And I think for them, this is their best opportunity, is just to go ham, try to just cause as much chaos as possible. So, especially with all the young players, live with the mistakes and just keep pushing, because I think that's your best opportunity for a win. So we'll be back tomorrow. Make sure you guys are following along wherever you get podcasts, and of course you can watch on YouTube as well. Follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and on TikTok at Locked On Sharks. Follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky at My Fry Hole. Until tomorrow, bye, friends.